Yes, hi, Jai Guruji, everyone. So here we are, the well-awaited autobiography of a yogi. It's a book that was highly recommended by Guruji. Am I audible enough?
Yes, Aunty, you're audible very nicely.
So this is a book that was highly recommended by Guruji. We, of course, don't know why. Maybe it's because, I guess it resonates with the guru and disciple relationship and what a guru can achieve for his mentor, above and beyond, of course. So without further ado, I will just read the first sentence literally of the preface. So we get a little gist of where we're going from here. So the value of Yogananda's autobiography is greatly enhanced by the fact that it is one of the few books in English about the wise men of India, which has been written not by a journalist or foreigner, but by one of their own race and training. In short, a book about yogis by a yogi. So this is an extraordinary, so as an eyewitness recounter of the extraordinary lives and powers of modern Hindu saints, the book has importance both timely and timeless. So here we are. We are going to start with chapter 1. We are really blessed and privileged to be reading this book, and I hope Guruji enables me to do justice with the reading, and I hope you enjoy listening to it. So chapter 1, My Parents and Early Life. The characteristic features of Indian culture have long been a search for ultimate verities and the concomitant guru-disciple relationship. My own path led me to a Christ-like sage whose beautiful life was chiseled for the ages. He was one of the great masters who are India's sole remaining wealth. Emerging in every generation, they have bulwarked their land against the fate of Babylon and Egypt. I find my earliest memories covering the anachronistic features of a previous incarnation. Clear recollections came to me of a distant life, a yogi amidst the Himalayan snows. These glimpses of the past, by some dimensionless link, also afforded me a glimpse of the future. The helpless humiliations of infancy are not banished from my mind. I was resentfully conscious of not being able to walk or express myself freely. Prayerful surges arose within me as I realized my bodily impotence. My strong emotional life took silent form as words in many languages. Among the inward confusion of tongues, my ear gradually accustomed itself to the circumambient Bengali syllables of my people. The beguiling scope of an infant's mind, adultly considered limited to toys and toes. Psychological ferment and my unresponsive body brought to me my many obstacle crying spells. I recall the general family bewildered at my distress. Happier memories too crowd on me. My mother's caresses and my first attempts at lisping phrase and toddling step. These early triumphs, usually forgotten quickly, are yet a natural basis of self-confidence. So true. The early years of our life are what determine our future, mostly. So my far-reaching memories are not unique. Many yogis are known to have retained their self-consciousness without interruption by the dramatic transition to and from life and death. If man be solely a body, its loss indeed places the final period to identity. So we are more than just a body. Like it said, we are a soul we are spiritual beings rather, I would say, having a human experience. So we are not solely a body. Otherwise, we are completely, I would say, soulless. It's like life is meaningless then. then there's no concept of karma, because it's an ongoing journey of the soul. Like Guruji used to say, this is journey of the soul. Even coming to Guruji the first time and bowing to him, and then allowing him to take over and our karmas enables us to live better in our later incarnations. So it's nothing is futile, nothing is wasted in this life. No effort goes unnoticed by Guruji himself. He's watching everything. So if man be solely a body, its loss indeed places the final period to identity. But if prophets down the millennium spake with truth, man is essentially of incorporeal nature. The persistent core of human egoity is only temporarily allied with sense perception. So we are more than just our senses, five senses of taste, smell, touch, sight, and hearing. Although God, clear memories of infancy are not extremely rare. During travels in numerous lands, I have listened to early recollections from the lips of veracious men and women. I was born in the last decade of the 19th century and passed my first 8 years at Gorakhpur. This was my birthplace in the United Provinces of northeastern India. We were 8 children, 4 boys and 4 girls. I, Mukunda Lal Ghosh, was the second son and the 4th child. Father and mother were Bengalis of the Kshatriya caste. We were both were blessed with saintly nature. Their mutual love, tranquil and dignified, never expressed itself frivolously. A perfect parental harmony was the calm center for the revolving tumult of 8 young lives. Father, Bhagapati Charan Ghosh, was kind, grave at times, stern. Loving him dearly, we children yet observed a certain reverential distance. An outstanding mathematician and logician, he was guided principally by his intellect. But mother was a queen of hearts and taught us only through love. After her death, father displayed more of his inner tenderness. I noticed then that his gaze often metamorphosed into my mother's. In mother's presence, we tasted our earliest bittersweet acquaintance with the scriptures. Tales from the Mahabharata and Ramayana were resourcefully summoned to meet the exigencies of discipline. Instruction and chastisement went hand in hand. A daily gesture of respect to father was given by mother's dressing us carefully in the afternoons to welcome him home from the office. His position was similar to that of a vice president in the Bengal Nagpur Railway, one of India's largest companies. His work involved traveling, and our family lived in several cities during my childhood. Mother held an open hand toward the needy. Father was also kindly disposed, but his respect for law and order extended to the budget. One fortnight, mother spent in feeding the poor more than father's monthly income. All I ask, please, is to keep your charities within a reasonable limit. Even a gentle rebuke from her husband was grievous to mother. She ordered a hackney carriage, not hinting to the children at any disagreement. Goodbye. I'm going away to my mother's home. Ancient ultimatum. We broke into astounded lamentations. Our maternal uncle arrived opportunely. He whispered to father some sage counsel, garnered no doubt from the ages. After father had made a few conciliatory remarks, mother happily dismissed the cab. Thus ended the only trouble I ever noticed between my parents. But I recall a characteristic discussion. Please give me 10 rupees for a hapless woman who has just arrived at the house. Mother's smile had its own persuasion. Why 10 rupees? 1 is enough. Father added a justification. When my father and grandparents died suddenly, I had my first taste of poverty. My only breakfast before walking miles to the school was a small banana. Later, at the university, I was in such need that I applied to a wealthy judge for aid of 1 rupee per month. He declined, remarking that even a rupee is important. How bitterly you recall the denial of that rupee. Mother's heart had an instant logic. Do you want this woman also to remember painfully your refusal of 10 rupees, which she needs urgently? Oh, you win. With the immemorial gesture of vanquished husbands, he opened his wallet. Here is a 10 rupee note. Give it to her with my goodwill. Father tended to first say no to any proposal. His attitude towards the strange woman who so readily enlisted mother's sympathy was an example of his customary caution. Aversion to instant acceptance, typical of the French mind in the West, is really only honoring the principle of due reflection. I always found father reasonable and evenly balanced in his judgments. If I could bolster up my numerous requests with 1 or 2 good arguments, he invariably put the coveted goal within my reach, whether it were a vacation trip or a new motorcycle. Father was a strict disciplinarian to his children in their early years, but his attitude toward himself was truly Spartan. He never visited the theater, for instance, but sought his recreation in various spiritual practices and in reading the Bhagavad Gita, shunning all luxuries, and in reading the Bhagavad Gita, shunning all luxuries, he would cling to 1 old pair of shoes until they were useless. His sons bought automobiles after they came into popular use, but father was always content with a trolley car for his daily ride to the office. The accumulation of money for the sake of power was alien to his nature. Once, after organizing the Calcutta Urban Bank, he refused to benefit himself by holding any of its shares. He had simply wished to perform a civic duty in his spare time. Several years after father had retired on a pension, an English accountant arrived to examine the books of the Bengal Nagpur Railway Company. The amazed investigator discovered that father had never applied for overdue bonuses. He did the work of 3 men, the accountant told the company. He had rupees 125,000 owing to him as back compensation. The officials presented father with a check for this amount. He thought so little about it that he overlooked any mention to the family. Much later, he was questioned by my youngest brother, Vishnu, who noticed the large deposit on a bank statement. Why be elated by material profit, father replied. The one who pursues a goal of even-mindedness is neither jubilant with gain nor depressed by loss. This is so beautiful. This is what Guruji teaches us, to maintain our even-mindedness and equilibrium, no matter what, in joy and in sorrow. And that is a true surrender towards Guruji. So this is a beautiful line. The one who pursues a goal of even-mindedness, actually, I feel that is the ultimate goal of every human being, to be even-minded and to attain that equilibrium and that equanimity. And particularly in these COVID times when there is so much loss, people are losing jobs, they're losing their lives, they're losing their health. I think the biggest challenge is to maintain completely even-minded, no matter what's going on. So it's really wonderful that we are neither jubilant with gain nor depressed by loss. He knows that man arrives penniless in this world and departs without a single rupee. Like Guruji said, खाली हाथ आए थे और खाली हाथ जाएंगे, पर नाम की कमाई मांग लो क्योंकि वो साथ जाएगी. So the नाम की कमाई, like Guruji said, Guru से गुरु ही मांग लो, रब से रब मांग लो. Here we are the richest and the most wealthiest on earth. Early in their married life, my parents became disciples of a great master, Lahari Mahasaya of Benares. This contact strengthened father's naturally ascetical temperament. Mother made a remarkable admission to my eldest sister, Roma. Your father and myself lived together as man and wife only once a year for the purpose of having children. Father first met Lari Mahasaya through Abhinash Babu, an employee in the Gorakhpur office of the Bengal Nagpur Railway. Abhinash instructed my young ears with engrossing tales of many Indian saints. He invariably concluded with a tribute to the superior glories of his own guru. How wonderful to be raised by parents who are saintly, first of all, and whose many conversations were with only gurus and babas. So, what a lovely childhood to have. Did you ever hear of the extraordinary circumstances under which your father became a disciple of Lari Mahasaya? This is also karmic. It was on a lazy summer afternoon as Abhinash and I sat together in the compound of my home that he put this intriguing question. I shook my head with a smile of anticipation. Years ago, before you were born, I asked my superior officer, your father, to give me a week's leave from the Gorakhpur duties in order to visit my guru in Benares. Your father ridiculed my plan. Are you going to become a religious fanatic? He inquired. Concentrate on your work if you want to forge ahead. Sadly, walking home along the woodland path that day, I met your father in a palanquin. He dismissed his servants and conveyance and fell into step beside me. Seeking to console me, he pointed out the advantages of striving for worldly success. But I heard him listlessly. My heart was repeating, Lari Masaya, I cannot live without seeing you. Our path took us to the edge of a tranquil field where the rays of the late afternoon sun were still crowning the tall ripple of the wild grass. We paused in admiration. There in the field, only a few yards from us, the form of my great guru suddenly appeared. Bhagapati, you are too hard on your employee. His voice was resonant in our astounded ears. He vanished as mysteriously as he had come. On my knees, I was exclaiming, Lari Masaya, Lari Masaya. Your father was motionless with stupefaction for a few moments. Abhinash, not only do I give you leave, but I give myself leave to start for Benares tomorrow. I must know this great Lari Masaya, who is able to materialize himself at will in order to intercede for you. I will take my wife and ask this master to initiate us in his spiritual path. Will you guide us to him? So it is so beautiful. Even Guruji used to materialize himself in two places at the same time, as we all know, maybe many places, and therefore Guruji is known as omnipresent. We completely know he's antaryami and he can manifest himself anywhere. He used to say, "Mainu dil nal yaad karo, and phir main hamesha aata hu." And one thing he said, I remember, he said, "Jitte jitte satsang hoega, utte utte mein zarur aavanga." And I do believe he manifests himself in every satsang to bless his sangat. Of course, joy filled me at the miraculous answer to my prayer and the quick, favorable turn of events. The next evening, your parents and I entrained for Benares. We took a horse cart the following day and then had to walk through narrow lanes to my guru's secluded home. Entering his little parlor, we bowed before the master and locked in his habitual lotus posture. He blinked his pacing eyes and leveled them to your father. Bhagpati, you are too hard on your employee. His words were the same as those he had used 2 days before in the Gorakhpur field. He added, I am glad that you have allowed Abhinash to visit me and that you and your wife have accompanied him. To their joy, he initiated your parents in the spiritual practice of Kriya Yoga. Your father and I, as brother disciples, have been close friends since the memorable day of the vision. Lari Masaya took a definite interest in your own birth. Your life shall surely be linked with his own. The master's blessing never fails. Lari Masaya left this world shortly after I had entered it. His picture in an ornate frame always graced our family altar in the various cities to which father was transferred by his office. Many a morning and evening found mother and me meditating before an improvised shrine, offering flowers dipped in fragrant sandalwood paste. With frankincense and myrrh, as well as in united devotions, we honor the divinity which had found full expression in Nari Mahasaya. His picture had a surpassing influence over my life. As I grew, the thought of my master grew with me. In meditation, I would often see his photographic image emerge from its small frame and taking a living form sit before me. So many Sangat have seen Guruji actually walk out of the Surup. That's why we call it the Surup and not a picture, because Guruji, like he said, Meri Surup bhi galla karegi ek din. And people have actually seen him walk out of his Surup and to sit before them. So how blessed are they? And because again, Guruji's energy, and when our energy infuses within it with his energy, then it comes alive, and it's just up to us. Like you said, Twadi Shraddha and Twadi Bhakti is what brings him alive at any moment, which makes him manifest at any given moment. So when I attempted to touch the feet of his luminous body, it would change again and again, become the picture. As childhood slipped into my boyhood, I found Nari Mahasaya transformed in my mind from a little image, cribbed in a frame, to a living, enlightening presence. I frequently prayed to him in moments of trial or confusion, finding within me his solacing direction. At first, I grieved because he was no longer physically living. As I began to discover his secret omnipresence, I lamented no more. And this is what happened to all of us when we first learned that Guruji has left his physical garb. We all felt orphaned, and we all felt quite dejected and felt actually abandoned by him, until we learned that he's omnipresent. And like he said, "Main kidhar nahi gaya, main itte hi haan." And as we witness the growing sangat in Bade Mandir, and jaise unhone bola tha, laine lag janiyan ne Bade Mandir. So when we became witness to that, we realized and how people were getting blessed by the minute, by the second, coming with all sorts of ailments, coming with all sorts of problems and anxieties, and he was curing everyone. So he's showering his blessings even today on each one of us. And that is the reassuring part. To have him in our lives is like having a warm coat all the time in a cold winter day. We are always warmed up by him, by his love. As I began to discover his secret omnipresence, I lamented no more. So we don't lament anymore. Nobody laments. The more you connect to Guruji, the more you realize he's totally here. He had often written to those of his disciples who were over anxious to see him, "Why come to view my bones and flesh when I am ever within range of your kutakstha, spiritual sight?" So again, Guruji said, don't get connected to my form. Guruji is not bones and flesh. He is an energy. He is formless. He said, "Kisi form which me mein aa sakna." So not to get attached to him per se, the form, but to connect to the energy, the divine energy. I was blessed about the age of 8 with a wonderful healing through the photograph of Nari Mahasaya. So again, just a mere photograph, mere Sarup of Guruji is healing the Sangha today. Just by connecting to the Sarup and doing the mantra jap and just speaking to him, people are getting blessed. So it's very similar. It's drawing parallels every sentence with Guruji. This experience gave intensification to my love. While at our family estate in Ichapur, Bengal, I was stricken with Asiatic cholera. My life was despaired of. The doctors could do nothing. At my bedside, mother frantically motioned me to look at Nari Mahasaya's picture on the wall above my head. Bow to him mentally, She knew I was too feeble, about to be mentally. She knew I was too feeble even to lift my hands in salutation. If you really show your devotion and inwardly kneel before him, your life will be spared. I remember this is so beautiful and so significant because once a lady came, and this is something I witnessed myself, and she didn't bow before Guruji. She came and she simply दूर से मत्था टेक मत्था नहीं टेका मतलब हाथ जोड़ लिया. So somebody said, Guruji ये तो पूरा मत्था भी नहीं टेक रही. कहते अंदरों एने मत्था टेक लिया, ए बेंड नहीं कर पा रही because इसकी back problem है. So Guruji is all compassionate while we are still very judgmental. So Guruji को पता हमारा भाव क्या है. It is our intent that matters, and that is all that matters. Therefore, he used to say, अपना soul to soul connection बनाओ. बंदे दा बंदा मैनू पता है. मैनू हर बंदे दी जो उनकी दिल में बसा हुआ है, जो उनका भाव है दिल में, intent है. That is what he sees. So that is what counts in life, our intentions. Nothing else, not our words, not our thoughts, not our deeds, nothing matters. It's only our intention that matters. अच्छी भाव हो तो भगवान आपको बहुत bless करता है. So the mother says to the son, bow to him mentally. She knew I was too feeble even to lift my hands in salutation. If you really show your devotion and inwardly kneel before him, your life will be spared. I gazed at his photograph and saw there was a blinding light enveloping my body and the entire room. My nausea and other uncontrollable symptoms disappeared. I was well. At once, I felt strong enough to bend over and touch mother's feet in appreciation of her immeasurable faith in her Guru. Wow. So when I remember Sonakshi met with my younger daughter, by the way, it's her 30th birthday today, and such is life. I am in Delhi. She's in Dubai celebrating with her sister, thankfully, and her father. So I'm happy, but I'm not there. I am here in Delhi. I'm digressing a little bit, but I'm just saying that when she met with her accident last January, those of you who have heard my satsang, and it was just before her birthday, in fact, her 29th birthday, a year has just flown by. And she met with a ghastly accident in the desert where she almost lost her vision and she'd injured her eye bone. So I remember the first thought I had was, Sonakshi, just remember Guruji and pray to him to heal you, and he will. You know, it was just that emphatic, resolute prayer to Guruji. It was very, very, it was an instant kind of response to her accident. And then hers was, Mama, put Guruji's picture, Sarup, under my pillow. So hers was also, she was also on the same page. So anything that happens in our lives, Guruji ka Sarup ka hai, Guruji ka hai, you know, just play the mantra jap. He's all encompassing. He's encompassed our lives, our breath, our thought process has completely transformed. Everything is him. We breathe in. How beautiful is that? When we become him and he becomes us. It's like his light, when it shines within us, then all we can see and every solution to every problem becomes him. And that is a real journey. वो रस कहते थे ना, गुरु जी रस लेवो मेरा. जदों रस लेंदे हो ना तुसी भगवान दा, रब दा, and knowing that divinity, knowing that that divinity is within you and you are living it, you're breathing it, then life just takes on a new meaning. It's just so soulful that we are living in the world and yet we're not living in the world. वो विराग्य जो होता है, वो detachment जो होती है, वो आ जाती है. Not that I'm detached to Sonakshi, I'm completely attached and I love her and I wish I was in Dubai, but I'm not, I'm here. But we are sending our, I'm sure Guruji's showering his blessings, and as a mother, I'm sending my prayers and blessings to her. So the mother pressed her head repeatedly against the little picture. Oh, omnipresent Master, I thank thee that thy light hath healed my son. Wow. I realized that too. She too had witnessed the luminous blaze through which I had instantly recovered from a usually fatal disease. So again, he makes the impossible possible, gives, even when we are on the verge of death, as I was, he brought about life. He gave life to me. Like he said in 98 to me, "Tu to pichle saal mar jana si skin cancer de naal, par main tenu navi zindagi deti hai." So just his love and our love for him, our dedication and devotion, our faith and surrender is what changes from death to life. One of my most precious possessions is that same photograph given to Father by Larry Massa himself. It carries a holy vibration. That's just it. Every Guruji ka Sarup is carrying that holy vibration, and therefore the Sarup speaks to us. So that's what we need to remember. When we keep that Guruji ka Sarup near our heart chakra, that is what is working. It's the vibration is vibrating with our heartbeat and is giving us a life force. So never give up. Like they say, never ever give up, because there is so much to our life. This incarnation is priceless. We can attain God if we truly focus on him. The picture had a miraculous origin. I heard the story from Father's brother disciple, Kali Kumar Roy. It appears that the master had an aversion to being photographed. Over his protest, a group picture was once taken of him and a cluster of devotees, including Kali Kumar Roy. It was an amazed photographer who discovered that the plate, which had clear images of all the disciples, revealed nothing more than a blank space in the center where he had reasonably expected to find the outlines of Larry Messiah. The phenomenon was widely discussed. A certain student, an expert photographer, Gangadhar Babu, boasted that the fugitive figure would not escape him. The next morning, as the Guru sat in lotus posture on a wooded bench with a screen behind him, Gangadhar Babu arrived with his equipment. Taking every precaution for success, he greedily exposed 12 plates. On each one, he soon found the imprint of the wooden bench and screen, but once again, the master's form was missing. With tears and shattered pride, Gangadhar Babu sought out his guru. It was many hours before Larry Messiah broke his silence with a pregnant comment. "I am spirit. Can your camera reflect the omnipresent invisible?" "I see it cannot, but Holy Self, I lovingly desire a picture of the bodily temple where alone to my narrow vision that spirit appears fully to dwell." It's the same like, when we used to sit with Guruji and Mr. Raghu Rai ji used to take pictures of Guruji. He doesn't share till date, but he said he saw some extraordinary images through the lenses. So this is what this reminds me of. Come then, tomorrow morning, I will pose for you. Again, the photographer focused his camera. This time, the sacred figure, not cloaked with mysterious imperceptibility, was shot on the plate. The master never posed for another picture. At least I have seen none. The photograph is reproduced in this book. Larry Messiah's fair features of a universal cast hardly suggest to what race he belonged. His intense joy of God communion is slightly revealed in a somewhat enigmatic smile. It's like Guruji also had an enigmatic smile. He knew it all, shared nothing, but blessed all. His eyes half open. Wow, again, Guruji. His eyes were half open. It's almost like, he's connected to the inner world and half connected to the outer world. And that's how and I'm sure many of our devotees, Guruji Sangat, want to live in times to come. I want my eyes to be half shut and half open, Guruji, so I can see my inner and outer world. So his eyes are open to denote a nominal direction on the outer world, half closed also. Completely oblivious to the polios of the earth, he was fully awake at all times to the spiritual problems of seekers who approached for his bounty. And that is what we aspire for, his bounty, his love, his grace, and our own awakening, our own truth. Because that's why each one of us is born, to seek out our own truth. And in these times, it's like people say, oh, either we sink or swim. But we seek and we swim. We never sink. He doesn't let our boat sink. And that is the beauty. No matter what we go through, it's been challenging for all of us. With Sonakshi's major accident, that where she almost lost a vision in her eye, to her COVID, to Anishka's now. Anishka's, by the way, in a cast. She's injured her ankle. It's ongoing, these, challenges in today's world. And I had COVID. The point is, problems will come. These are karmic. And these are also the times that we're living in. Can't say COVID is karmic. Maybe it is. Maybe the way we've treated Mother Earth, I don't know. We don't have answers. But the greatest answer we have above all for this problem that we're going through is Guruji. He is our answer. He is our savior. He is our guiding force and guarding force. So we are so rich, so wealthy in spirituality. So all we need to do is tap into it. Knock and it shall open. So just knock on his door and he opens us to a vista, to a whole world of possibility and growth. And that is what's important for each one of us. So he opens his door to bounty, actually, because that's what we seek. Shortly after my healing through the potency of the Guru's picture, I had an influential spiritual vision. Sitting on my bed one morning, I fell into a deep reverie. It is so beautiful. Every page, every word is we can draw parallels to our own journey with Guruji. What is behind the darkness of closed eyes? This probing thought came powerfully into my mind. An immense flash of light at once manifested to my inward gaze. Divine shapes of saints sitting in meditation posture in mountain caves formed like miniature cinema pictures on the large screen of radiance within my forehead. Wow. Who are you? I spoke aloud. We are the Himalayan yogis. The celestial response is difficult to describe, but my heart was thrilled. Ah, I long to go to the Himalayas and become like you. The vision vanished, but the silvery beams expanded in ever-widening circles to infinity. What is this wondrous glow? I'm Ishvara. I am light. The voice was as murmuring clouds. I want to be one with thee. Out of the slow dwindling of my divine ecstasy, I salvaged a permanent legacy of inspiration to seek God. He is eternal, ever new joy. This memory persisted long after the day of rapture. How beautiful. So the glow, like I remember the glow. Now this comes back to my satsang when I asked for the glow. Now I understand what I was asking for. What is this wondrous glow? So the glow is that of Ishvara. The glow is that of divinity. So when Guruji said, when I said telepathically to him, ki mujhe glow de dijiye, and then he said, Rab ko lo Rab manglo, glowy glow hai. So now it's all coming back. So another early recollection is outstanding. And literally so, for I bear the scar to this day. My elder sister, and I, were seated in the early morning under a neem tree in our Gorakhpur compound. She was helping me with a Bengali primer. What time I could spare my gaze from the nearby parrots eating ripe margosa fruit. Uma complained of a boil on her leg and fetched a jar of ointment. I smeared a bit of the salve on my forearm. Why do you use medicine on a healthy arm? Well, sis, I feel I'm going to have a boil tomorrow. I'm testing your ointment on the spot where the boil will appear. You little liar. Sis, don't call me a liar until you see what happens in the morning. Indignation filled me. Uma was unimpressed and thrice repeated her taunt. An adamant resolution sounded in my voice as I made slow reply. by the power of will in me, I say that tomorrow I shall have a fairly large boil in this exact place on my arm, and your boil shall swell to size its present size. Morning found me with a stalwart boil on the indicated spot. The dimensions of Uma's boil had doubled. With a shriek, my sister rushed to mother. Mukunda has become a necromancer. Gravely, mother instructed me never to use the power of words for doing harm. I have always remembered her counsel and followed it. So again, here Guruji used to say, Hamisha changa bolo. My mother used to say, and I'm sure most of you have heard this as Indians, because din mein ek bar Saraswati jarur sort of is there around us, jalti hai. I don't know the exact words, but mom used to say, Hamisha changa bolya karo, because what you say, your words become truth. So, and Guruji always used to say, Hamesha positive socho, Hamesha changa bolo, changa socho. So this is something that we all need to embrace and internalize and practice. My boil was surgically removed. A noticeable scar left by the doctor's incision is present today. On my right forearm is a constant reminder of the power in man's sheer word. So true. So words are so powerful. So, like that's why even Louise Hay, if you've read her books, she says that the power of words is transformational. So affirmations, therefore, when I say I'm healthy, I'm happy, I am this or that, it manifests because, there's something around us. Call it Saraswati, call it the laws of attraction, call it whatever, but words have a power to manifest themselves. So it's very important, again, to speak only positive words. Never say, oh, meri kismat kharab hai, ya mera ye kharab hai, mere to karm hi kharab hai. Never say that, because a lot of people do. And I think we are only adding fuel to that fire, literally. And we are fueling that affirmation with that negative thought and words. My boil was surgically treated. So a noticeable scar left by the doctor's incision is present today. On my right forearm is a constant reminder of the power in man's sheer word. Those simple and apparently harmless phrases to Uma, spoken with deep concentration, however, had possessed sufficient hidden force to explode like bombs and produce definite, though injurious, effects. I understood later that the explosive vibratory power in speech could be wisely directed to free one's life from difficulties and thus operate without scar or rebuke. So we don't need to suffer to go through enlightenment or to reach enlightenment. By using the power of words, every single day, every moment, we can achieve the impossible. Each one of us, remember that. Each one of us has the power to transform our lives, to transform our thinking, our being, and our doing. If I say today, I want to be of service, whichever way I can be of service to mankind, and particularly in today's world where humankind need our talents, our ability to do things which will help the underprivileged, to help each other, then the universe is listening and it happens. Good prevails. Good always prevails when we think good. And negative always prevails too when we think negative. So it's up to us. We are the co-creators of our lives. Guruji is the creator. We are the co-creators. He's the captain of the ship and we are the co-captains. So therefore it's very important, like they say, God help those who help themselves. So it's very important to help him, to help us to lead the best life ever. Our family moved to Lahore in Punjab. There I acquired a picture of the Divine Mother in the form of the goddess Kali. It sanctified a small, informal shrine on the balcony of our home. An unequivocal conviction came over me that fulfillment would crown any of my prayers uttered in that sacred spot. Standing there with Uma one day, I watched two kites flying over the roofs in the buildings on the opposite side of the very narrow lane. Why are you so quiet? Uma pushed me playfully. I'm just thinking how wonderful it is that Divine Mother gives me whatever I ask. I suppose she would give you those 2 kites, my sister laughed derisively. Oh, why not? I began silent prayers for their possession. Matches are played in India with kites whose strings are covered with glue and ground glass. Each player attempts to sever the string of his opponent. A freed kite sails over the roofs. There is a great fun in catching it. Inasmuch as Uma and I were on the balcony, it seemed impossible that any loose kite would come into our hands. Its string would naturally dangle over the roofs. The players across the lane began their match. One string was cut. Immediately the kite floated in my direction. It was stationary for a moment through sudden abatement of breeze, which sufficed to firmly entangle the string with a cactus plant on top of the opposite house. A perfect loop was formed for my Caesar. I handed the prize to Uma. Oh, it was just an extraordinary accident, and not an answer to your prayer. If the other kite comes to you, then I shall believe, said my sister. Sister's dark eyes conveyed more amazement than her words. I continued my prayers with a crescendo intensity. A forcible tug by the other player resulted in the abrupt loss of his kite. It headed towards me, dancing in the wind. My helpful assistant, the cactus plant, again secured the kite string in the necessary loop by which I could grasp it. I presented my second trophy to Uma. Indeed, Divine Mother listens to you. This is all too uncanny for me. Sister bolted away like a frightened fawn. So this is chapter 1, and there's so much to learn. And now we are open also to any questions and answers and all sorts of discussion. It's such a beautiful beginning. What I have clearly learned is the manifestation of divinity in our lives at any given point. It's almost like at will. If I say, Jai Guruji, that Guruji, please come to me. We don't ask for these things. You see, we never ask. Like he said, Rab Kulo Rab Manglo. When you ask divinity for divinity, he will appear. Secondly, the power of words. We must, I'm a believer. I'm a believer because since childhood, my mother has also always taught me. And then, of course, Guruji reaffirmed it. Ki hamesha changa bolya karo. Sometimes we do say things inadvertently. I might say, wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm getting a headache. I'm going to have a bad day. And it actually becomes a bad day, So I feel that we start on a good note, on the right footing, and life then, beautiful things take over. I really feel and know and have seen it in my life, the power of words, the power of positive thinking and positive speaking. So this is what we've learned. And if there's any other feedback, which you have learned also, besides manifestation, besides the most beautiful childhood he had. He was so blessed to be raised with the knowledge and the wisdom of gurus and babas around him. We met Guruji much later. We had a very mundane, I would say, upbringing. But after meeting Guruji, of course, life has become extraordinary. And our thinking, may Guruji transform our thinking also into extraordinary, because he turns every ordinary thing into extraordinary. So may he make all his Sangat extraordinary too. And may we really become his shining example. Anybody? Jai Guruji. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.